Hi everyone, welcome back to Speaking, Writing, and Communicating in English in the Creative World with me, Nicole. Thank you so much for sending me your questions and your useful feedback. Every time I answer any of them, I always learn something new myself. Okay, question number one. What are some of the rules, tips, or life hacks for communicating in English on social media platforms? Do they differ from one social media platform to another? Okay, great question. Instagram and Facebook both are used to tell compelling stories. However, they have different storytelling capabilities. And when you can narrow down the individual strengths of Instagram and Facebook, you will be able to optimize your use of these platforms. The studies show that people use Instagram for a place where they want inspiration and an insider's perspective into something. People use Facebook when they're looking for opinions or real-time content. So what's real-time content? Real-time content is a great way to share events or behind the scenes going on with your audience. I'm going to give you an example. As a social content creator for Sidewalk Bolzano, I use both platforms. I use both Facebook and Instagram. So let's say that there's an open mic night. I'm going to use both Facebook and Instagram to promote that event. I would use Facebook beforehand to post the information about the event, and I'm going to post on Facebook any overall general information or if there's any articles related to the event. I would use the Instagram though to post behind the scene action or live action, or even maybe a short comment from one of the performers. On Facebook, people are there to connect. They're there to connect with people they know, with family members, with friends, while sharing their views and opinions on the world. Meanwhile, people are on Instagram because they want to see visually crafted content. So that means anything from DIYs, do-it-yourselves, travel, food, or other inspirations that can engage your audience in making similar content. I found a very nice article all about the battle between Facebook and Instagram that you will find useful, and I've put it in the caption below. How much time a day, a week, is it recommended to dedicate to the language that you're learning? Okay, fabulous question. I'm just going to say that there isn't a standard time, but there are many useful methods that you can use that might help you in your language learning process. It depends what the level of your language is. So let's say that you're starting from zero, you're starting from scratch, you don't know a single word in that language. You're going to want to dedicate a lot of time to active learning. I mean, either taking a course, using a language book, or anything that is going to help you to learn those new words, sentence structure, punctuation, pronunciation, and the conjugations. Meanwhile, if you have a solid foundation, you can focus on language exposure. So that means any kind of activity that involves reading or listening to the news, music, podcasts, TV shows. Let's say that you want to spend time actively learning. So the time you should spend actively learning is like 30 to an hour a day, depending on your level. If you're starting from zero, I recommend 30 minutes to an hour. If you're not, then you can kind of do less. If you want to combine both of those things, so you want to do active learning and language exposure, the recommended dose is 30 minutes of active learning and an hour of language exposure. Another method is called microlearning, and microlearning is for people that really don't have time, and even half an hour is like too much time for them. So all you really need are 5 to 15 minutes a day, and you can download one of the many language apps that exist on the market, and you can try doing that every day, and in the end those minutes will add up. When it comes to finding your learning schedule, learning technique, you have to try different methods and see what works best for you. I personally really like the language exposure and the active learning method because it combines a bit of everything and it's not too strict, and at the end you do see results after a while. For any more information about language learning and incorporating English in your daily life, please check out one of my previous videos. Do you have any tips on how to overcome the embarrassment when speaking English? I feel like I have enough vocabulary, but often I feel too shy to speak. Okay, you and everyone else, this is a very common issue, and whoever is experiencing shyness or embarrassment in speaking a new language, don't worry, that's totally normal. Actually, it's all part of learning. When you were a child and you were learning to walk, so those very early stages of life where you're learning to walk, imagine how many times you fell until you learned. And while you were falling, were you judging yourself for it? Besides those words of wisdom, I found 5 ways that can help you get over shyness. Number 1, adopt the mindset that you have a lot to offer. Don't just think about the words you don't know or what you don't know about the language. Start from what you know. So even if you don't know how to communicate something, use the words you know to communicate that. If you're learning with someone like a teacher or a tandem or a native speaker, remember that that person is there to help you. They're really interested in knowing more about you and they want to see you succeed. Another one is remember that if you're ever speaking to a native speaker and you feel judged or you feel like you're making a bunch of mistakes, remember that that native speaker is probably really impressed by the fact that you're speaking a new language. This is my favorite one. Speak before you think. Often in life they say think before you speak, but when it comes to speaking a new language, just speak. Don't think. Don't overanalyze and don't overthink. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, to take a risk, to just speak. Another idea is to have some conversation starters ready. By conversation starters, I mean simple phrases that will get the conversation going in any kind of situation. And I found a bunch of useful examples, and I'll put that in the caption below. What's something I can read related to the cultural sector to improve my English? Museum websites are my favorite because there actually you can find a lot of terms related to what you're looking for. And there's actually some museums that will list the terms for you. And I've put a link to that in the caption below. Look up museum websites in many countries. Go international, because honestly, museum websites are a great source of discovering about culture through art, okay? And if you look at museum websites from different countries, you will find an inside look into, different cultures. Another way is through scholarly and academic work. Chances are that whoever's writing those articles is going to be using terms that you're interested in, that is related to the field that you're looking for. Another way is through culture blogs and websites. And I put a very useful link for you in the caption below. Another important one is social media feeds. So a feed is something that provides updates on new content. And this is a way that you can read about maybe personal and real-time content related to culture. And I've also included a link for that in the caption below. What terms or words do you need to know when writing an invoice? Okay, so I'm just going to say to start, please have a look at one of my previous videos where I talk about all the bureaucratic and financial terms when it comes to being a freelancer and writing invoices. When it comes to writing an invoice, this is what you're going to need. Number 1, you're going to need to include your logo, okay? So if you have a logo, please include it. Number 2, include your contact details so customers can get in touch with you. So that means your company's phone number, email address, and if it has a website, a website. Number 3, list the services you are providing and be descriptive. Number 4, the customer's information. So their name, their address, and their customer number, which is ideally a multi-digit customer ID. Not everyone has this, but usually they do. And number 5, your payment terms. This isn't necessary, but you might want to do this. So the date of the invoice, how many days after sending the invoice the payment is due, and the due date of the invoice. I'm going to include also a link where you can find much more information on this, and you can even see an example of an invoice in English. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for all your questions. And if you need help with anything, please reach out. Anything regarding learning English, English in the creative world, I'm happy to help. You can look me up on the Instrumenta page on the Waystation website. Yeah, I just want to say that we're all in the same boat here. As of right now, because of the crisis, the cultural sector is one of the sectors that's been hit the hardest, and although there are some challenges, I think it's also a good moment for us to reinvent ourselves and really use the resources that we have to find a new way, a new strategy, and stay positive.